Do you feel alive, truly alive, enthusiastic, energetic, passionate, excited? We all know that there are many levels. There are times, even though we're biologically alive, but we're sluggish. We feel unmotivated, uninspired, apathetic, and at times even zombie-like. Could be walking around and a person will say, I'm like a zombie. And there are times where you feel like you're burning on all cylinders. Are you in that state? And what can you do to achieve that state? To feel, when you wake up in the morning, jump out of bed with the type of powerful anticipation of seizing the day, of accomplishing something. And imagine being able to do so day after day, at full speed. Of course, we all need our moments of respite, but overall be able to generate, to be able to initiate that type of energy. So please join me. How to be truly alive. Hi, this is Simon Jacobson, and we'll be speaking about how to truly feel alive. This program is dedicated by Paula Kweskin in honor of Yishai Menachem, Ad Vashira, and Yardena Michal. So, ask yourself this question. Do you truly feel alive? Enthusiastic, excited, passionate, burning on all cylinders. We really feel motivated, inspired. Many people will say that happens very rarely. Some will say more often, and some will say never. I wish I could be that way. And very often, even when we are in that state, we don't always know what is the magic formula. What's the secret? What got me there? Is it just grace? It's just circumstances, something happened, Let's say a family get together, talking about a healthy family, where you look forward to it, a wedding, birth of a child, a graduation. So of course there are moments in life where we feel we're going on a trip. The question is how long it lasts and can you initiate it? That's the big challenge. Not that it just comes your way and you benefit from it as much as you do. So that's what we want to talk about. How to truly feel alive. So the fact of the matter is this. There's biological life. We all know what that means. You're breathing, your heart is beating, your vital organs are functioning. Let's go beyond that. A healthy person, all your limbs and organs and systems are humming along. That's definitely the medical definition of life. You're alive. Not to sound morbid, but by contrast, the opposite of that would be death, where there's no life force any longer in this corpse. God should protect us. And then there's in between. A person could be ill, disease, aging, different things that you feel that energy is not there the way it was. But all this is on a basic biological level. So when you define and ask the question, what it means to be truly feel alive, we have to define what is life. What is life? If it's biological life and you're functioning, you're healthy, and everything is working, many people praise God for that and say thank you. I'm happy with that. But is that really truly being alive? As I mentioned, you could have that, but if you only have that, what about when you feel unmotivated, uninspired? You don't feel passion. So you could be functioning. A machine could be functioning like a good machine, but that's it. And we all know that just for surviving is not enough for a human being. If a person is anxious, if you're depressed, you're feeling in any way sluggish, then though everything may be functioning, but your spirit, something inside is missing. To the point that some people will say, I feel like a zombie. Yes, I'm going through my emotions. I'm doing what I have to do, my responsibilities. But I don't feel motivated. I don't feel driven. Then, of course, there's deeper levels of depression where people feel they're lethargic and can't even move. So there's many, many levels, but clearly all this indicates that biological life, as much as that defines life in the medical sense of the word, scientifically, it's clearly not what we would call being truly alive. Because you can have all that in place and still not feel life in that powerful way. And the sad part is this. Many of us may think we just don't have it within us. You know, some of us are lucky, some are not lucky, some are motivated, some have outer stimulation or some form of stimulation. Some are wired to be more energetic. That's not the case. The same source that gives you biological life, if you dig deeper, this energy source has more dimensions to it. And if we're not taught what they are, and if we don't access them, then it could be like a machine that has tremendous power. Think of a car that can go 200 miles an hour, but you don't even know that it can. So you're driving at 40 miles an hour. I'm not saying you should drive a car at 200 miles an hour. I'm just giving an example. But its potential is there. If you don't know that potential, you're never going to push it. Many of us give up, or we're not even aware of how much energy is brewing beneath the surface. So let's go through a short summary. This is taken from the mystical, I like to call it the psycho-spiritual blueprint or roadmap, an X-ray of our soul, of the psyche, of our inner forces, whatever name you want to use for it. And in general, it breaks into 5 dimensions. 5 dimensions of what we call life. Most of us use the word for life, some use the word, most use the word life, the life force. Some refer to it like a form of electricity. You can use the word spirit. You can use the word soul. And I mean soul now in a universal sense. I don't mean in any religious context necessarily. But it's what distinguishes between something that's dead and something that's alive. Now we all know there's nothing that's totally dead because there's always forces at work, pulsating even in something that's inanimate. But we're talking about expressive life, what we're calling life. So it breaks into 5 levels. So neshama in Hebrew is the word for soul. But it's only one word. There's actually 5 names. And it's not names, it's dimensions. So let's go through these. And you'll see as we go through them, deeper, it's like traveling deeper into underground to finding deeper resources. And when you access each one of these levels, more and more energy flows forward. So our job is to dig. Think of a well. There's water under the ground. But if you don't dig for it, and you don't draw the water up, it'll just remain under the ground. The same thing here. In your potential, there's tremendous amount of energy in that spirit or soul. I'm going to use that word. Even though I know words are loaded and people may not associate with that word, so replace it with any word that you're comfortable with. It's just semantics, really. But it's the energy within you. So the 5 dimensions, here's how they go. I'll say them in the Hebrew and translate and explain. So 5. The Hebrew is nefesh, N-E-F-E-S-H, transliterated. Ruach, number 2. Ruach, R-U-A-C-H. The third is neshama, N-E-S-H-A-M-A. The fourth is chaya, C-H-A-Y-A. And the 5th is yechida, Y-E-C-H-I-D-A. Let's translate, and then we'll explain each one. So nefesh, let's call it the spirit, but the biological life. That part of your energy source, of your soul, that vivifies and energizes your very being. What happens at the moment of conception until the moment of death, when the energy and the body get separated from each other. How does it express itself? We all know what life is like. When your eyes are open, you see, your ears hear, your heart is beating, your brain is functioning, all the other organs are functioning. A healthy nefesh, so to speak, a healthy nefesh in the body is humming along, like we said, a healthy human being. Energy and container, or energy and matter, are working seamlessly together. That's a healthy being. If someone asks you, what does health feel like? If you can describe a feeling, it means there may be a problem. Health is supposed to be unfeeling, no sensation. It's so smooth, you don't hear your heart beating, you don't hear your brain working. You just see the end product, you see you're alive, you're feeling good. What does good mean? That you're not feeling any sensation. If there's a dull sensation, or a sharp sensation, or any, means there's something that needs to be looked at. Okay, that's biological, that's nefesh. Someone functions on that level, it's a great blessing to be healthy. We all know it's one of the greatest blessings to be a healthy human being. But it doesn't tell us about how alive you feel, how motivated you are, how inspired you are. So come to number 2. We're going to the next layer, next dimension, traveling inward. Think of this, I'm being the tour guide of a journey into your soul. Ruach. So if nefesh, I could find a spirit or biological life, ruach is emotional, the emotional component of your soul, which means you're feeling things. You feel love, you feel attraction, you can feel repulsion as well. But it's a feeling. Now imagine a person only has biological life and doesn't have ruach, emotional life. That would be a person who's functioning, not necessarily a vegetable, but even a vegetable also goes into biological life. You can be a vegetable, God forbid, and be alive, and nothing else is working. But even if you're working around, but you don't feel. I don't feel anything, like you say. My feelings are numbed, whatever the reason may be. So Ruach introduces the world of feeling, the sensations of feeling, reacting. You see something beautiful. So it evokes something within you. And the same with interactions with people. And it's really the basis of all relationships, that there's love. There's some connection, emotional connection. So there's no question, adding that into the equation adds a whole dimension to what life is meant to be. But we don't stop here. Let's travel deeper inward, my friends. We go now to the level of neshama. Literally, it could be translated as soul, but again, these are words that are interchangeable. You know, if you really technically, you could say nefesh, biological life, ruach, spirit, emotional life, neshama, intellectual. The mind is now at work. Now, you could be alive with feelings and emotions and impulses that are reacting in powerful ways, but your mind is not necessarily fully functioning. What I mean by that is that your mind is not stimulated. You can be attracted to someone emotionally, and then when you sit and have a conversation with them, there's nothing that connects you. The minds don't meld. And the mind doesn't just mean ideas or concepts. It means an intellectual experience. You feel intellectually stimulated. The mind also introduces the concept of reflection. Emotions are primarily impulsive. Even healthy, good emotions. The mind reflects, researches. The mind also dreams, imagines. So it's a whole other dimension to human life. So you can have the biological, you can have the emotional, but if you don't have the mind, you really can't travel to other vistas. Think of an animal. An animal is not just biological life. An animal also has emotions. An animal gets hungry. It's attracted when it needs to breed. Its mind is only there for survival. You don't see an animal. You won't see an elephant or a monkey or a fish or an eagle sitting and contemplating on my purpose of my life. They're always functioning. They have their function and their role. It's not a critique, obviously. They're either hunting, they're resting, breeding, taking care of their young, protecting, fighting with their competition. That's what animals do. So they use their mind. They can be ingenious, actually. But you'd say the mind is preoccupied with their emotional needs. Whereas in the human being, the neshama, the mind can be transcendent. Well, I don't want to use the word transcendent, it's not the right word, we're going to get to that. I mean transcendent of the emotions. That the mind can separate itself from the subjective needs of the animalistic impulses and see things objectively. The mind could also be controlled by the heart, but by the emotions. But the mind has the capacity to go beyond it, to reflect, to say, oh, even though my emotions may say something, I want to consider it, I want to be more deliberate. So the mind opens up new vistas, and it's actually what made the human being able to conquer this universe, and even conquer animals that are far stronger than us, and elements and forces that are more powerful than us, because of the ingenuity of the mind, the capacity to build industries, to build agriculture, to build machines, to build technology. And look at the progress. That's a result of the mind. Obviously, a mind without emotions and without biological life is far from complete. Actually, you can't even be alive without at least the biological. So we have now 3 dimensions that we've traveled. So if you think of it that way, when you wake up in the morning, we'll get to the other 2 in a moment. You wake up in the morning and you have number 1, you awoke, you feel awake, but you don't have any emotional stimulation. You don't feel driven by anything. You're not drawn to anything. You're not passionate. Your mind is not particularly stimulated. What are you going to have? You're going to have technical life. You'll be able to slouch through the day, and that'll be it. So you can see here, even without going to the next 2 levels, that life is more than just functioning. It's more than just surviving. It's having emotional relationships, emotional interaction, emotional charge, emotional stimulation, and intellectual stimulation. So let's move now to 4 and 5. Now the first 3, we'll call them the conscious part of our energy, the conscious part of our psyche, of our soul. Because it's all conscious. Things that you're aware of, things that you experience, whether it's surviving, whether it's biological, emotional, or intellectual, or cognitive. The next is chaya. We'll call now the transcendent part of ourselves. We're now entering into what I'd like to call the supraconscious, which means you can't touch it directly, but you can experience it. So what is chaya? Chaya is not localized as the mind is in the 3rd level, or as the emotions are in the 2nd level, or as the biological part in the 1st level. It's your transcendence, your transcendent aspirations, longings, desires. And what does transcendent mean? It's even beyond your mind. The experience when you lose yourself and absorbed in a beautiful, natural sight, an exquisite painting, an extraordinary piece of music. You ever lose yourself, you don't even feel that you're there. You get totally absorbed in it, totally consumed. You're reading a book. You're completely absorbed in the book. You don't even realize you're reading a book, turning pages. It can make you cry and laugh and feel fear and trepidation and so on. So that is now, we're talking about the transcendent values. This is where a human being can go to a place that's completely beyond. The mind is true. It can lead you to number 4. But the mind itself is still an intellectual, conscious experience. Transcendence are all those experiences that make us feel that we're part of something greater than ourselves. So you could say, well, if I had the first 3, I'd be very happy. But the first 3 are subject to change, number 1. Number 2, it's not your max. It's not your max. Transcendence introduces a whole other experience. The experience of being able to become greater than yourself. Now, transcendence can be experienced in many ways. Through music and art, through travel, through religion, through faith, spirituality, through intimacy. Even though we spoke about love on level 2, but love can be basic emotions, but it could also be a very intimate and deep connection. And as a matter of fact, one that continues to grow transcendence beyond transcendence. It's like climbing the mountain and seeing new horizons, and then seeing even further ones. So we see the mind, the curious human mind, level 3, leads us there. Look, we look up into the heavens and we see what's out there. Is there life on other planets? So that's what drives us. But then the transcendence is the experience of the awe, the reverence of something beyond. You look at people who have that sparkle in the eye, not truly alive, the number 4 is vital. Because that's what drives them. It's not just I'm reading a new book, I'm stimulated by ideas. It's when Einstein or other physicists and scientists say, I just stood in awe of the cosmos, of the universes, of the solar system, of other solar systems. You see the smile on the face, you see the sense of amazement. That's more than just the intellectual pursuit of an idea, of a theory. It's the experience of it. You even hear it with mathematicians. The eloquence, the poetry of numbers. This is all moving from the intellectual into experience that's something transcendent. And when one reaches that level is actually essentially a source of infinite amount of energy and life. So if you talk about to truly feel alive, you must access number 4. And we'll talk about that shortly. I want to finish the 5th one. Yechida. Yechida literally means oneness. Actually, Chaya, let's go back to 4. Chaya means life. Life. So though all levels of the soul are a form of life, biological, emotional, intellectual, but here I'm fully alive because I have a transcendent, I have values, I have a dream and vision of how I want to change the world, how I want to make my mark in the universe. So now we come to number 5, Yechida. Yechida means oneness, a seamless oneness, where it's not even an aspiration of transcendence, it's just being in the zone, you completely belong. So though I mentioned transcendence, a form of absorption, but think of it, the final step of absorption. You're totally one with your mission, with your calling, with your transcendence. It's not a subject and an object. The first 4, even number 4, are still a subject and an object. There's you, and there's your experience. You, and I'm functioning. I'm physically alive. I'm surviving. I'm making it. Or I'm feeling love, reverence, compassion, determination. The 7 emotions that are part of the spectrum, the spectrum of the human, of the soul. I might as well mention them all. Determination, humility, bonding, and dignity. Okay, so that you are feeling something. Intellectual is the same thing. You're not one with the idea. You're experiencing an idea, and it's stimulating your mind. A cognitive experience. And even transcendence, I'm experiencing something transcendent. So it's still not one melted, one seamless unit. Yechida is total fusion, where the fish becomes one with the water, where your experience becomes one with you. It's no longer a verb, but it's a noun. It's a state of being, not just an experience. Let's take love, and I'll go through all 5 of them. Love. Biological love, we all knows what that means. That's physical attraction, sexual attraction. You could be attracted to something physically, and there's no emotional connection. You fall in love with the face of a model. The second level is emotions, that the love brings emotional feelings, emotional care, concern, empathy. Then there's the next step, you can have that, and then there's intellectual. There's a stimulation between the 2 partners, between the 2 people who love each other. They share ideas, they share concepts, they share things. They may have different opinions, but they stimulate each other intellectually as well. Transcendence, number 4, in love and relationships, is the values you share with another. What vision that's greater than the sum of the parts? What kind of home do we want to build? What kind of children? When people meet us, what kind of message we want? What vibe? So this is already on a transcendent level. And Yechida is when they become one as if there is no 2 people. You're not just experiencing love as a verb, as an action, but as a state of being. It's like a hand gets wet, but wetness doesn't get wet. Wetness is wetness. So Yechida is, of course, a very unique state, one that's not easy to achieve, but it is definitely a level that we need to be aware of, the ultimate level of total fusion, seamless connection to the deepest part of who you are. We may have moments like that, where you just feel a complete state of belonging. But it's, of course, a great blessing to be able to access that all the time. So now let's go back to the initial question. How to truly feel alive? It's by accessing and pressing the buttons of all these 5 levels. Simple as that. But it's not so simple because it's not a button and it's not a magic pill. The answer is, number one, is the method, the formula. Number one, you need to be aware of these dimensions, and then you need to do things to stimulate them. It's like someone saying to you, you have much more power in your arm than you think you do. So you say, okay, great, but what do I do? So a good coach, a good trainer will tell you what exercises to exercise different parts of your muscles, different parts of your body, to access deeper energy. And that's what happens when you exercise, more energy comes flowing. But you need to know about it, you need to know how to do it. So if you think about it, it doesn't take a lot, but I'll spell it out. You may have heard me speak about spiritual spa. Just like the body needs comfort, but the body needs nurturing, so does the soul. So the spa, the spiritual spa, is an acronym, SPA, for study, prayer, action. Those correspond to the 3 first levels in the other order. We'll start with action. Action is behavioral change. Not just to function and survive, but to do something active today. I'm going to show an act of kindness. I'll visit someone in the hospital. I'm going to send a message to someone that may need a kind word. I'll offer a spiritual insight to someone. Some type of action. Charity. Anything you do on a behavioral level is massaging nefesh, the biological part, and bringing more energy out of it. Then going next, prayer. Prayer is essentially emotional exercise. So this is exercising your emotional muscles. This is through feelings. Having a feeling, listening to a song, reading a poem, singing a song, or expressing emotion. I don't just mean an action-based way, but expressing emotion to someone that you love, or to a stranger for that matter. And of course, prayer itself, sometimes referred to as song, prayer is referred to as an emotional exercise. Emoting with your own soul, feeling, and working on feeling, emotional intelligence, and working on emotions in relationship with the divine, with something beyond you. Then comes the S of SPA, study. Study is cognitive exercise, cognitive conditioning. So the first is behavioral conditioning, emotional conditioning, now cognitive conditioning. It means study something. Read something that takes your mind, blows your mind, takes your mind to another place, to a transcendent place. I'll just give a personal example. I give a class every morning. In probably the deepest discourse in Jewish mysticism, Hasidic teachings, called Ayin Beis. You can check it out at chasidisapply.com if you want to follow along. It's a live class. Everyone is welcome. It's in Hebrew text, but I explain at length. It's literally a journey to that place. It's taking your mind to places you never could imagine. It's what some mathematicians, scientists sometimes call, when they go, the amazement of where the mind can lead you to. So it's taking your mind and conditioning it to experience something greater. But then the next two, how do you stimulate transcendence? By thinking, ask yourself a question. Why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? So now you're not talking about your own behavioral, emotional, and intellectual life, but you're talking about why you're needed. Why are you here? What will you contribute? And this is the transcendence. Focus on it and ask yourself, what is the purpose of my life? What am I contributing? And know this, that every soul has an indispensable purpose. That what you need to accomplish in this world, you and only you can accomplish. Transcendence includes our higher values, the things we believe in, things we're ready to fight for. And actually that infuses the lower three levels, intellectual, emotional, and behavioral, in powerful ways, in indescribable ways, actually. So transcendence takes you to a whole other place. Now you're asking yourself the biggest question of all. Discovering your mission is what will infuse you with more energy than ever, because your mission is like, think of an astronaut in space. There's no room for hanging out. There's no room for distractions. Obviously, we all need times of rest and comfort and relaxation, but you're driven. There's a sense of urgency, and that urgency brings out the most life from within you. That transcendence. So this is about your mission in this life, the purpose for which you were created, the meaning of your life. And finally, Yechida. Yechida is not that easy to access through any formula. It's when you do the first four, then the fifth emerges. It's when you really connect and you feel this is what I'm needed for. I'm helping people in a certain way. And I feel it's my personal life mission. No matter what else I do, this is my driving force. Then there's a point where you just fuse with the very mission itself. It's not necessarily a sensation. It's just a sense at the core, at the center of your soul, the center of your being, a sense of harmony, of peace, of serenity. But not animal bliss, but on the contrary, one of complete focus, complete fusion, lack of a better word, seamless fusion with the essence of who you are. And that ultimately is not just a source of energy. That makes you feel that you are life itself. You're one with life itself. Not just that you're feeling alive, not just you're accessing life force, you are one with life itself. Because you're a piece, an indispensable piece of the cosmic reality. That all of existence cannot exist without your contribution. It's not about an ego trip, it's about just a sense of that type of, I know this is what I'm needed for. So there you have 5 dimensions, 5 levels, which is a journey. And it's not always as easy. It may sound easier. It sounds easier than it is. It's easier said than done. That's the expression. But it's a blueprint for true growth. Now the next step is yours. What are you going to do about it? Because it's not about waiting for someone else to do it for you. You have to initiate in each of these levels. So I want to wish you the best on this journey, and begin step by step. Don't try to do something more than you can. Don't try to more than you can contain. Step by step, but persistence on a daily basis. Do the spa every day. Something that's cognitive conditioning, emotional conditioning, behavioral conditioning. Every day something that's transcendental conditioning, and you can focus and ask yourself, am I feeling that belonging? But don't push it. That emerges. That's not something you can just draw out. It emerges when you do everything else in your life properly. This has been Simon Jacobson, meaningfullife.com. Please subscribe to our growing YouTube channel. Please share with others. Of course, love to hear your feedback, thoughts, comments, questions, and suggestions for any further topics. Check us out at meaningfullife.com. It's always an honor to speak and share with kindred spirits on all 5 levels. And may you truly be alive in the fullest sense of the word and bring out your greatest potential. Actualize it in your own life and the world around you, because we all need you. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by the Meaningful Life Center. Please help us continue our programs. Make even a small contribution at meaningfullife.com/donate.